My name is Annalisa Leonessa. I am one of the artists in the Fiber National exhibit, now virtual at the Workhouse Art Center. I am a fiber artist. I work from my home studio in Tacoma Park, and I am a felter. I make felt. Felting, wet felting is the oldest way to make textile. It's older than weaving, older than knitting. Nevertheless, it suits itself to extremely experimental possibilities, and it's used a lot as a new approach to make contemporary art. Um, After being a knitter all my life, I learned knitting when I was a child in Italy from the women in my family. When I came here in the early 90s, I wanted to make my own yarn. And so I taught myself spinning using a traditional spinning wheel, and that gave me the opportunity to finally touch wool in its natural form, touch unprocessed fiber. And for me, it's extremely pleasure, just the act of touching. It's like petting my dog. About 10 years ago, I started experimenting with felt, fascinated by the Nuno felting technique. Nuno felting is a way to make a new cloth, almost melting together fabric, sheer fabric like silk, chiffon, or gauze, and wool fibers. And you transform the silk into a material that's warm as wool, but at the same time keep the elegance of the silk and the lightness. At that moment, I really liked the silk. So my first works were scarves and shawls, where the silk fabric was the dominant material, while the wool felt was almost a medium to add texture to the silk. Over the year, though, my attention shifted more and more to the process of felting, how the wool felt, this amazing property of wool fibers to change their status from a loose mass to a compact new material that cannot be undone. I started experimenting with way to pull a flat piece of felt, a two-dimensional piece, from this two-dimensional status to a three-dimensional shape. Wool fibers have no willingness to be transformed into a 3D shape, to be molded, like clay, for example. So you need to use a different way. No, you cannot just compact and shape. It's intuitive that if you press together wool fiber and you felt it, you can make a 3D ball, for example. But what about more complex shapes? Shapes that have multiple faces. They could even be a vessel with multiple faces, or a delicate and more complex shape like a little branch or big branch. Or a ball that's hollow. It's a hollow, like almost a felt bubble. So to make this kind of elements, you need a different approach. And I use resists that I insert in my wall. So all my pieces start flat, and I add these pieces of material. Could be a flat resist, a 3D resist, a multi-pages resist. So this is material that doesn't felt. It doesn't allow the wall to felt to itself. So I can create some empty space inside my piece, some almost pockets that I can later manipulate and into flowers or other forms. The piece that feature in this show is a piece I made with this technique, using different resists, flat and 3D, and it's a wool vessel, a very thin wool vessel with a intricate and open work top ridge, and this ridge is very rich in 3D shapes. So vessel and top, open work top, is all created at the same time as a one piece of felt. After making it, I dyed this coral color because I like to give it the impression of a coral reef. This piece holds its shape because of the felting process. I don't use any stiffener, any wire to shape my pieces, so it's soft, delicate, but holds its shape. So it's the process of felting that shapes the object. So the product is really intimately connected to the process. I like to give the impression of a natural, that you are looking at an organic object, and I am greatly inspired by nature, by being in nature. So I like my pieces to evoke this feeling of being in nature, of that you are looking to something natural, maybe resembling coral of twigs or antlers. I like my pieces to be beautiful because they reconnect the viewer to the beauty and comfort of nature. I encourage you to visit the exhibit, unfortunately only online, not in person, but it's rich of incredible fiber works, and if you like to connect with me, please do so through my website, actsoffiber.com, and keep safe in these difficult and strange times. And if you have the possibility, don't miss taking a walk in the woods.